Greetings all, and welcome to the 36th episode of TM Technical Movement. For today, we'll be taking a look at the Clamp, Razor Shell, Water Pledge, Sparkling Aria, Snipe Shot, Water Spout, Scout, Steam Eruption and Hydro Steam attacks, and the Withdraw and Rain Dance techniques. Much as the name might suggest, the Clamp attack involves clamping down onto an opponent with the two halves of a hard shell and squeezing tightly to inflict damage. In a sense, the Clamp attack could almost be seen as a modified form of the Wrap attack designed to take full advantage of a Pokemon's heavily armored shell. Not surprisingly, this specific anatomical arrangement is only found among a few species of Pokemon, namely the members of the Shellder and Barnacle families and Clamperl. During a Clamp attack, the user opens its shell literally clamps down hard and fast to inflict damage without letting go after the initial strike. The actual damage dealt by the attack is fairly low and elementally basic, but the fact that it can only be learned naturally by Pokemon strongly associated with the water means the attack is equally assigned as a water type attack. More importantly, what really makes the Clamp attack a useful tool for detaining opponents is that the initial blow does not simply end afterwards. After the initial damage from the constriction is dealt, the user of a Clamp attack will continue to hold the opposition in the constriction until they are otherwise released in the attack. This in turn continuously deals damage to the opponent at a steady even pace, usually about 12.5% of the total HP every couple of minutes, as the constriction cuts off blood flow. If this lets go long enough, this will eventually render the opponent unable to battle and unconscious. The amount of time spent constricting the opponent primarily depends on the user's stamina, but the continuous damage usually lasts for at least 4 or 5 combat turns before the user needs to release its grip to regain its strength. If the attack's initial force is used again while constriction is still occurring, however, it will not reset the amount of time left before the grip is released, and may in fact loosen the grip in some cases, causing the attack to end earlier than normal. Even so, the Clamp attack is a painful strike that can more than prove to be a dangerous weapon as long as it can land a hit, though this might not always be easy given the time needed to prepare it. Since the Clamp attack is delivered with an armored shell, it is extremely difficult to actually physically counter the move without the aid of a rapid spin attack or something similar. Fairly agile Pokemon, however, should have no trouble dodging the attack in close quarters. Metallic armor is unlikely to provide much in the way of protection against the attack, and rocky armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. Although the Clamp attack is not guaranteed to actually hit or entangle all types of opponents equally, when it does hit, it is usually quite difficult to get an opponent to release its constriction without knocking them unconscious, in turn making this otherwise simple attack a potential nightmare that should be avoided with evasive tactics at all costs. In essence, the Razor Shell attack involves striking an opponent with a powerful slashing strike, using a hard sharpened piece of shell material or something similar. While the Razor Shell attack mimics many of the same properties associated with the Crush Claw attack, its use of shells instead of claws makes it both a more versatile and more effective move at taking down opponents with rocky armor. This attack requires that the user is able to utilize a sharp-edged shell or a piece of calcium carbonate-based material to strike precisely enough and quickly enough to actually strike with the cutting force needed to cause deep lacerations. This explains primarily why the attack is fairly limited among Pokemon as a whole and, more importantly, why a Shellder but not Clamperl are able to learn it, as Clamperl do not possess sharp-edged shells, but Shellder do. As with the Crush Claw attack, the turning force associated with the blow is strong enough to negate the increasing the chance of obtaining a critical hit, but is more than compensated by a 50% chance of lowering the opponent's defense stat with every blow. Unlike the Crush Claw attack, however, the Razor Shell attack does allow a bit of extra distance between the user and the opponent, particularly if the shell object can be thrown or is otherwise particularly long, as in the case of Samurott. In the case of Pokemon like Shellder, this can even allow the user to attack with its full body, granting it both protection against counterattacks and the ability to quickly follow up the strike with a close-range projectile attack. The only real downside to the Razor Shell attack is that its type assignment makes it relatively ineffective against water and grass-type Pokemon, and it takes a little while to prepare and is thus not perfectly accurate. But this is little more than a slight nuisance in comparison to the potential benefits it could offer in battle, helping to explain why it was then made into TM83 for Silco's 8th generation line of TMs and TRs before being discontinued in the following generation. While knocking the bladed shell being used out of the grasp of the opponent can quickly put a stop to an impending Razor Shell attack, this will only work if the shell is not part of the user's anatomy, and should mean that Pokemon like Shellder and Samurott will be particularly difficult to dodge. Nonetheless, exceptionally agile Pokemon can still dodge the move in close quarters. Moreover, metallic armor is unlikely to provide much in the way of protection against the attack, and rocky armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Razor Shell attack is most certainly not the most common of moves out there, even among water types, but if it is available to the opposition, it is a devastating strike whose defense-throwing properties should be counted with Pokemon with high defense stats at all times, and possibly strong offenses to take out the opposition before they can compromise the physical defenses of one's Pokemon too much. In essence, the Water Pledge attack involves the user attacking with a mystical column of water that increases in power when combined with a Grass Pledge attack. The Water, Fire, and Grass Pledge attacks are part of a special series of moves that no normal Pokemon can actually learn naturally, but have become teachable in recent years by specialized move tutors and through other artificial means. Unfortunately, because the moves are effectively based off the Hydro Cannon, Blast Burn, and Frenzy Plant attacks, only starter Pokemon, and in this case, the members of the Pampor family, can learn these moves, though they do not have to be especially friendly or fully evolved to do so. The Water Pledge attack effectively involves user attacking with a powerful column of water to inflict damage, making it little more than a slightly intensified water gun attack. However, if a partner uses either a Grass Pledge or a Fire Pledge attack in the same turn, something very unique will happen. If Grass Pledge is used in the same turn, the Water Pledge attack will be influenced by the move's unique power and will instantly convert into a Grass Pledge attack, doubling its base power in the process and becoming a full-on blast of might that can actually create a temporary swamp on the opposing side of the battlefield. But it only lasts for about 4 combat turns. While present, the swampy ground beneath the opponent's feet will effectively reduce their speed by 50%. When combined with a Fire Pledge attack, however, the Fire Pledge attack will be influenced by the move's unique power and will be converted into a Water Pledge attack, doubling its base power in the process and becoming a full-on blast of might that actually creates a rainbow from the resulting evaporation. It only lasts about 4 combat turns, but while present, this strange rainbow has the abnormal effect of doubling the chances of secondary effects happening with any move used. This, in addition to the fact that the move is affected by items like King's Rocks, can make it a devastating combination deck to have access to when a partner has a different pledge attack to play, even though its power cannot be increased by a Water Gem, which might explain why it was selected to become TM145 in Silph 9th generation line of TMs. Moreover, Metallic Armor is unlikely to provide much in the way of protection against the attack, and Rocky Armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Water Pledge attack is a decently powerful move on its own, but when combined with the power of a Fire Pledge or Grass Pledge attack, the sheer devastation the move can wreak makes it a move more than worth preparing for, with Pokemon possessing strong defenses, especially in multi-Pokemon battles. Considered to be the signature attack of Primarina, the Sparkling Aria attack involves users generating a large cloud of bubbles that they then use their voice to blast nearby targets in order to inflict damage. Because using bubbles as a primary means of attack is a special feature only really present among the members of the Popplio family in adulthood for the most part, it comes as no surprise that as Primarina, they have managed to develop a special move that only they can use to make the most of their special powers. In essence, the Sparkling Aria attack is initiated by Primarina unleashing a torrent of bubbles in the air and keeping them there using its Fairy Force powers. Once a dense cloud of bubbles has been formed, the creature then uses its amazing singing voice to blast the bubbles out of the air and into the face of its target forcefully, causing a considerable amount of damage in the process. Due to the size of the bubble cloud and the way in which their cry constantly expelled forward, the attack has the capacity to hit multiple nearby targets in a multi-Pokemon battle, doing so while only experiencing a 25% drop in base power, but it also means that their closest ally will be hit by the attack as well. Thankfully, this isn't all bad news, as there is a secret to this move that can give it a tactical use in a fight. Because the bubbles used in the attack are formed inside the user before they are expelled, they are coated with an internal mucus these creatures generate in their bodies that has soothing healing properties. As a result of this, if this attack does hit a target, it will help to heal any body part that might have been suffering from a burn and heal it, removing the status condition entirely. This might be a special attribute that can only be taken advantage of in certain situations, but it nonetheless helps the move stand out as one of the more unique water-type moves out there and an attack perfectly suited for a Pokemon like Primarina. Unless the bubbles used in this attack can somehow be burst or evaporated by heat, there is no way to directly counter or dodge the Sparkling Aria attack. Moreover, Metallic Armor is unlikely to afford much in the way of protection against the attack, and Rocky Armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Sparkling Aria attack might not be a move that most trainers have to worry about seeing in battle, but if placed against a Primarina that has access to this move, it is a potent strike that only strong defenses will be able to resist against, though its capacity to heal burns might be something worth taking advantage of if one's Pokemon had received the condition as a result of a fight with an earlier opponent. Considered to be the signature attack of Inteleon, the Snipe Shot attack involves use of focusing carefully on a target and firing a powerful bullet-like stream of pressurized water at them to deal damage. Inteleon are masters of silent movement and careful precise attacks, only going for the targets they tend to hit and leaving everything else alone to get a job done as quickly and effortlessly as possible. Their favorite way of ensuring that their strikes hit the target they are meant to strike is with this attack, Snipe Shot, in which they carefully cover their eyes with a nicotinating membrane and focus on a target with a hand outstretched and finger pointing like they were about to fire a gun. With their intended target in sight, these creatures will then carefully aim and fire a highly pressurized stream of water from the pointed fingertip, striking the opponent with moderately high force to deal damage. The attack doesn't cost a lot in terms of stamina, and thus an effective way to deal steady damage to a target, but what makes the attacks truly stand out is the fact that the shot is fired so precisely and rapidly by Inteleon that, no matter what might happen, the attack will always be able to at least reach the area where the intended target may be. This doesn't give the attack perfect accuracy, but in the context of multi-Pokemon battle, it ensures that the attack cannot be swayed by abilities and moves that might otherwise draw in the attack and change its eventual target, like Follow Me or the Storm Drain ability. This can help cripple the strategies of opponents that rely on such tactics in order to keep one Pokemon in the team safe from attack, and in turn is a great way to disrupt their strategies and ensure that opponents cannot easily step out of line of fire once they are in sight, especially since the attack is affected by held items like King's Rocks. Due to its use of water to inflict damage, Extreme Heat can be used to mitigate or completely evaporate the Snipe Shot attack. If this is not an option, however, the attack can be extremely difficult to dodge. Moreover, Metallic Armor is unlikely to perform much in the way of protection against the attack, and Rocky Armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Snipe Shot attack is a rare move that most trainers won't really have to worry about seeing much, but if the opponent has an Inteleon with access to this move, it is definitely an attack that can cut through distraction-based moves and abilities, and prove to be a powerful annoyance that only strong defenses will truly be able to mitigate and protect against to at least some extent. Much as the name suggests, the Water Spout attack involves user releasing massive amounts of water from its body in a forceful blast designed to literally pummel and drown anything near them in battle. The Water Spout attack is an exceptionally powerful but somewhat temperamental attack that is designed to utilize the user's full offensive power to strike the opponent with a voluminous burst of high-pressure water. In a Water Spout attack, the user releases massive quantities of water at high pressures and directs the enormous burst of liquid at nearby targets in order to douse them and inflict substantial trauma from the sheer force of the water. This imposing strike can deal tremendous amounts of damage to anything it manages to hit, equal to that of the Hydro Cannon attack at full strength, and, because it can hit multiple adjacent opponents, only suffering a 25% drop in base power, it can equally devastate several targets in battle without cost the user anything additional. However, despite its impressive power, the Water Spout attack does come with a cost. Its power is completely dependent upon how healthy the user is in regards to its current HP. The Water Spout attack will only deal maximum damage when the user has had 100% of its maximum HP. As the energy is slowly depleted, the base power of the attack is also slowly depleted from them, losing the resolve needed to launch the attack at full strength, until it eventually has almost no impact on the target at all. This can make them a very poor choice to have around as an attack later on in battle, but as a first strike, this otherwise inescapable wave of decimation can easily prove to be the worst thing any opponent could ever hope to face at the very onset of a fight. While an intense blast of heat can extinguish the attack at low levels of damage, near or at the attack's maximum damage capacity, there is very little capable of actually preventing or dodging the destruction the attack can deliver in battle. Moreover, Metallic Armor is unlikely to provide much in the way of protection against the attack, and Rocky Armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Water Spout attack is an absolutely devastating attack to have to face early on at the very beginning of a battle, so the threat it poses against most teams is more than real. The only thing that can be done to reduce its damage potential outside possessing strong defenses is to inflict as much damage on the opponent as possible before they manage to use the attack. In essence, the Scout attack involves users spraying an intense blast of boiling hot water at an opponent to inflict damage. The Scout attack is a unique variation of the Water Gun attack that takes its basic properties and intensifies them greatly by rapidly increasing the actual temperature of the water. In other words, the water used in a Scout attack is effectively raised to a boiling temperature before being released, and try to heavily increase the overall damage it can do, only moderately increasing its stamina cost. Aside from being a fairly powerful attack, because the exceptional temperatures involved in its execution, the boiling water has the capacity to work much like fire does and can not only thaw the user or target out of its frozen state, but additionally has a 30% chance of inflicting a burn every time it hits. This alone can make the attack a devastating weapon to use in battle, especially since it's also affected by items like King's Rocks, but the fact that its use often generates a thick cloud of steam can prove to be a tactical advantage as well, especially with Pokémon that have enhanced eyesight that can see through the steam. These powerful offensive and tactical advantages are what led Silph to release the move as TM55 from the 5th generation line of TMs. While most of the recent TMs have debatable popularity, the Scout TM quickly rose through the ranks as a highly popular move and, as evident in its inclusion within Silph's 6th and 7th generation line of TMs, it uses TR84 in the company's first line of TRs, it uses TM49 in the recent Sinnoh Special Edition set, and its use as TM188 in the 9th generation line, it has proven to be a very popular move. Since the Scout attack utilizes immensely high temperatures in its execution, additionally he can potentially vaporize the attack rather easily and negate its effectiveness. Otherwise, however, it is extremely difficult to dodge the attack. Moreover, Metallic Armor is unlikely to provide much in the way of protection against the attack, and Rocky Armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Scout attack has certainly become a popular move in recent years, and is definitely a likely move to see among many different types of Pokémon, and should thus be prepared for extensively with strong defenses, some form of protection against burns, and perhaps a bit of extra heat to possibly destabilize the attack before it can even land. Considered to be the signature attack of Volcanion, the Steam Eruption attack involves user blasting an enormous high-pressure stream of scalding water at an opponent, immersing them in boiling water and dealing incredible damage in the process. The Steam Eruption attack is a unique variation of the Scout attack that takes its basic properties and intensifies them greatly by rapidly increasing the velocity of the boiling water as it comes out of the user's body. While the traditional Scout attack is powerful on its own and capable of seriously messing with the opposition, Volcanion are able to pump the scalding water out of the body so quickly that it comes out as a high pressure spray instead of just a simple burst, adding incredible force to the attack and substantially increasing its overall damage that it can actually inflict, to the point of making it just as powerful as the otherwise less accurate Hydro Pump attack. Aside from being an extremely powerful attack, because of the extreme temperatures involved in its execution, the boiling water has the capacity to work much like fire does, and can only thaw the user and target out if it is frozen, but additionally has a 30% chance of inflicting a burn every time it hits. This alone can make the attack a devastating weapon to use in any battle, especially since it is also affected by items like King's Rocks, but the fact that its use also generates a thick cloud of steam can prove to be a tactical advantage as well, especially with Pokemon that have enhanced eyesight that can see through the steam. The fact that only Volcanion can use this move testifies to their incredible strength, and while its impact might be lessened as a result of its rarity, the Steam Eruption attack is nonetheless one that can easily destroy the competition and leave them with a nasty burn if they somehow manage to survive the attack, in turn potentially ending their time in battle if they can't take any more pain afterwards. While the Steam Eruption attack utilizes immensely high temperatures in its execution, and additional heat could potentially vaporize the attack rather easily and negate its effectiveness, the sheer velocity the attack is delivered at more or less makes it difficult for anything other than extremely agile Pokemon to dodge it. Moreover, metallic armor is unlikely to provide much great protection against the attack, and rocky armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Steam Eruption attack might not be something that most trainers have to worry about seeing in battle anytime soon, but if stuck against a Volcanion in battle, only strong defenses and a bit of quick footwork will be able to potentially counter the damaging power of this move, and even then, the nasty burn it can leave may be too much for Pokemon to handle if they do not have an immunity to the condition or have almost no energy left in them to fight on. Considered to be the signature attack of Walking Wake, the Hydro Steam attack involves users spraying an intense beam of boiling hot water at an opponent to inflict damage. The Hydro Steam attack is a unique variation of the Scout attack that takes the basic properties of the move and alters them further by cranking up the temperature of the attack to the extreme. While the Scout attack on its own is fairly powerful and has a high chance of inflicting a burn onto anything it directly touches, the Hydro Steam attack alters this by increasing the temperature of the attack so much that it gets released as a boiling hot beam of water that is very close to the flash point of liquid water on its own. While this means that the move is too high of a temperature to inflict a direct burn onto a target, since the water will vaporize into a gas as soon as it hits the target, this also means that it's at a point where additional heat can create a greater flash outburst when it makes direct contact with the target. In other words, while most of the water type attacks, including the similar Scout and Steam Eruption attacks, might be weakened by the presence of intense sunlight, the Hydro Steam attack's impact strike will be energized and increased in power by 50% if used in the presence of intense sunlight, hence making it a far more dangerous move to have to face under those conditions. The exact nature of how this process occurs is still not well understood as a result of the move's isolation to Walking Wake, but it is thought that the ancient power that flows through their forms allows them to manipulate water to its extreme degree without harming themselves. Regardless, the attack is a powerful counter to anyone hoping to weaken the might of their water-type offenses with a bit of extreme heat, and can more than prove to be a serious threat to anything in the firing line in the process once the sunlight grows brighter than normal. Since the Hydro Steam attack utilizes extremely high temperatures in its execution, additional heat would do little but add to the damaging power of the attack, and thus do little to stop it from being a serious threat, and is further extremely difficult to dodge. Moreover, metallic armor is unlikely to provide much in the way of protection against the attack, and rocky armor is likely to take exceptional damage from it in most situations. The Hydro Steam attack might be too rare of a move for most to ever have to worry about, but if one has to confront a Walking Wake with access to the attack, only strong defense and anything that can keep the weather from getting too sunny will be able to weather the worst that it can bring to any battle it is interjected into. Much as the name suggests, the withdrawal technique simply involves a Pokemon withdrawing into an armored shell in order to protect itself against physical harm. Although it is learned by a far more non-water type Pokemon than actual water types, the withdrawal technique is generally classified as a water type move because of its equal effectiveness in and out of aquatic environments. Young Pokemon that naturally possess hard shells usually have no way of defending themselves without relying on their shells in at least some fashion, which is exactly where the withdrawal technique actually comes in. By temporarily tucking in most, if not all of the body into the armored shell that covers their form, Pokemon using this technique can raise their defense stat for a short amount of time, and in turn allow them to withstand physical blows that otherwise would be too harsh to survive. Despite its simplicity, the move is a fundamental technique for shelled Pokemon, and can easily spell the difference between winning and losing battles at a young age. Attacking techniques that raise a Pokemon's attack stat or lower an opponent's defense stat are highly recommended for dealing with the withdrawal technique. As one might imagine from its name, the Rain Dance technique involves summoning a large rainstorm to cover the battlefield for a short amount of time. The Rain Dance technique is a good example in the Pokemon world of the natural affinities of a user being able to actually change the weather. In a Rain Dance technique, the user utilizes either its natural water-type powers or some other advanced mechanism to create a howling rainstorm that lasts about 5 combat turns under normal conditions. But under the effects of the Rain Dance technique, the powers and abilities of Pokemon on the battlefield are affected exactly as they would if it were naturally raining. In summary, the base power of all water-type moves is increased by 50%, and the base power of most fire-type moves and the Solar Beam attack is decreased by 50%. Synthesis, Morning Sun, and Moonlight only recover 25% of the user's maximum HP. Weather Ball will become a water-type move. The accuracy rate of Thunder and Hurricane will be increased to 100%, and all abilities normally activated by rain will be activated. It might not last as long as normal rainstorms, but when the battlefield is not in one's favor, this move can easily help change that issue in a heartbeat. The move's universal nature made it a shoe-in as a TM, and was officially instated as TM18 within Silph Co's second generation line of TMs, from which a tremendous popularity among all types of trainers has allowed the move to retain its status through all successive generations of TMs, as well as the recent Sinnoh Special Edition set, only becoming TM33 in the 8th generation line and TM50 in the 9th generation line as a numerical change. The only way to counter the effects of the rain dance technique is to either wait for the rainstorm to dissipate, or change the weather with a move or ability. That's it for this episode, so stay tuned for the next episode of TM Technical Movement. Thank you all for watching this video. It is a great pleasure to share with you all the fruits of my research and all the positives it gives to understanding the wonderful creatures we call Pokemon and how their powers and behaviors function in their world. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more work like it, please give a like, comment, and or subscribe to the channel so you can get regular notifications on when new content is being uploaded. You can also find links to my DeviantArt page, Patreon, and Discord server in the description below. Please, join me on this road to seeing what the world of Pokemon has to share with us, and the many mysteries and wonders that keep us all coming back for more.